Now, we're told that students in the Sabungida MA Junior High School in the Nanumba North municipality study under hard conditions. In fact, one of the classrooms that they study in belongs to a resident of the community. Take a look at the story briefly. We'll get into a conversation about education. Anissa Fai is seated and the Honorable Matthew Yingdam as well is seated. Take a look at this.
Sabongida, a farming settlement, is located about 19 kilometers away from the Nanumba North municipal capital, Bimbila. It is also a boundary community between Nanumba North and East Gonja. The community has a large population but remains undeveloped. Education in this part of the northern region is not the best, as the only junior high school serving Sabongida and its adjoining communities has remained in a deplorable state over 2 decades. The sheds were put up in former President Jerry John Rawlings' regime in 1992, but has since not received any major facelifts. School authorities say they occasionally mobilize town folk to erect a wall around the structure to save students and teachers from bad weather. On some occasions, the students contribute their quota.
The wall is not strong. It needs to be a block form so that nothing will happen to it. But the way we use our hands to build it, it's not strong. That's why it has destroyed like that. And if masters are teaching, we're not getting it. The only thing we'll do is that after the classes, we'll go and sit somewhere which is comfortable so that we can learn and get it. And that was the way we're doing.
But their efforts have not helped much as the walls continue to wash away with the slightest rainfall. 3 years ago, Member of Parliament for Nanumba North, Dominic Nitiwo, bought a trip of sand to mold blocks for the school, but nothing has since been done.
Well, according to him, he said he was coming to mold blocks for a new structure and then even made us to clear, see that space behind us, to clear the place. That was where he was coming to make them set up, do the setting out and then put up a new school. Looking at the whole thing, my hope or the way we are seeing the whole thing, if not God's intervention, I see no hope in this case.
Teachers say teaching and learning is not effective here.
When I came here with the first batch, they were able to make grade 13 up to 30. They have not been able to maintain that because of the problems that faces us.
The school has insufficient furniture, and so students are compelled to bring their chairs and tables from home. Students whose parents cannot afford a table sit on the floor.
You all know who a camera is, right? Yes.
Most of them, they don't have furniture to use. For some years now, we don't get from the disassembly any dual decks for the children to use. So they provide their own. Looking at the northern part of the country here, some of them, they don't even know the essence of education. So they are not willing. So to continue. So we are just pleading to the government to come and support us.
Again, the school, which has an enrollment of about 100, has no physical structure as an office. Property of the school are kept with individuals in the community.
We went to the community to ask for somebody's sleeping room, and we do keep our register and other teaching and learning materials there. Certain times it even the rooms link and even destroy parts of our materials, the school materials and the textbooks that is being provided by the GS.
New teachers refuse postings to the school. This teacher, for instance, has provided voluntary service since the last 9 years.
They will post the teachers, they won't come because of the structure. And they are our brothers. I have brothers, my direct brothers here. So if I feel like going to stay at the house, teachers are not coming to teach. It means we are losing education. So that's why some of us are still there.
He said attempts to get him absorbed by Ghana Education Service have failed.
CS will come around, the heads will come around, directors will go for several workshops, and they see me in the district being voluntary teachers taught for this number of years. And I'm not given that chance. But people who have just competed behind me are given the chance, they are recruiting them, and me being the voluntary, serving voluntarily up to this time, have that certificate in my hand. I'm denied the distance. So I feel discouraged.
The school has 2 ICT teachers, but for years, information communication technology is taught in abstract because they have no textbooks.
To send or to receive what? Information. And that is what we are going to base on to learn what we call ICT.
None of the students has seen a computer before, so the mission team showed them a laptop, and this is how they reacted.
I hope this is your first time of seeing the laptop. Yes.
If master is teaching us ICT, everything he will taught, we are not understand it. If he brought everything in the board, if you seen it, he will talk plenty things about it, but we not understand it. And he's saying that we should be paying that so that the government will help us to get laptop or computer, and we are happy that we have touched laptop today, and we are so happy. If you help us to get laptop, we'll be happy for what we are doing for us.
Sabongida has water challenges, and so students spend longer hours searching for water, thereby impacting negatively on their education. Stakeholders' commitment would be required to make the Sabongida Junior High School a better place for both staff and learners. The structure you see right behind me is what accommodates students of Sabongida and 7 other communities in the Nanumba North municipality of the Northern region. Its current state has forced a lot of students to stay away from school. Efforts by politicians to address the situation have failed. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Sabongida.
Stanley Blew out there. Good morning to you, Dr. Weji Wasser of the University of Ghana Business School. I know your passion is some of these issues, but we're joined this morning by Hanis Hafa, is a consultant and educationist. Hanis, good morning to you, and thank you very much for your time. And the Honourable Matthew Nyindam is the MP for Pandai constituency, First Deputy Majority Whip. Chief, good morning. I thank you very much for your time. At least I can shake hands with you. But at least let me come to you first of all. This is the story out there, one of many. Are we as a country committed to education as much as we preach it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you look at the fact that we've been independent since 1957, and we see these kinds of conditions, it's very appalling. But then this is the African story. And when I say the African story, I mean the irresponsibility of people who are supposed to be in charge of these things. And they are there. You know, if you look at the lifestyle of people who are supposed to lead education revolution in this country, and you compare it to the depravity in these areas, it's a bloody shame. But you know, it's I've written quite a bit about the dilemma of the African child, in the sense that the older people, this is really the bottom line.
Okay.
The older people have absolutely no respect for the younger people. You know, and I've seen too much of it. You know, my training has taken me from Accra all the way as far back as the north. The Mamprusi area and so on. Absolute disrespect for young people, and then the side effect of that is that as they too grow up, they also pass on that disrespect to the younger people. This is the situation in which we find ourselves now. Are you with me on this one?
I am, Honourable. So, Parliament is supposed to have oversight responsibility. In fact, there's a whole education committee, a select committee in Parliament regarding this. Knowing full well that a country will break down if it has bad education, because if they become doctors, people will lose their lives at their hands. If they become engineers, buildings will collapse at their hands. If they become lawyers, people will go to jail for no reason. If they become judges, people would... I mean, it's an electrification of problems. Is Parliament worried about this?
Well, good morning, and good morning to viewers. I think every rational human being should be worried about this. And Parliament obviously is worried. Every member of Parliament, I'm sure Dominic will not be happy to hear this story. Mission is doing very well. It cuts across. Right. When you look at the work you are doing, I watched a video yesterday, which telecasts one of the stories from my area. We are all worried, and let me take it from where my uncle just stopped. Sometimes politicians, when you see such a story, everybody because we control the pace.
Right.
And for that matter, if things are not going well, obviously it's on your doorsteps. And it's not a good story. We can never be proud of this at this particular time.
Beyond the worry, what's there?
Beyond the worry is how to be pragmatic enough to start some of these things, get some of these things done. Sabonjira is not a small place.
Okay.
I know them very well. Those who spoke, most of them, I know them. It's quite a big place. And to get this structure at Sabonjira at this particular time is very worrying. And like you rightly said, it's a story of many. It's not just limited to Sabonjira alone. And I think that Get Fund, normally that is where most of this infrastructure is coming from. Get Fund is the lead when it comes to infrastructure development. And I think we should be doing more. We should be doing more. And it also boils down to the resources.
When the member of parliament who's aspiring to go to parliament mounts the platform, you promise everything. In the story, we're told how the defense minister, Honorable Dominic Litiwo, had gone there, bought a trip of sand, said he is going to mold blocks. He even asked the people to clear the ground in anticipation of a construction. It's been how many years now? And there's been no sign of his shadow. In fact, the headmaster in the story is his direct elder brother. So if blood is thicker than water, and if you want to go by that analogy,
it tells you that we have a lot on our hand as politicians. And unfortunately, things like this or stories like this are directed straight to you, the member of parliament. And you control very limited resources. Very, very
but
limited
you have the
resources.
influence.
Yeah, we do. We do. Yes,
why
we
not
do.
use
I don't dispute that. It is like a whole nation. Everybody goes to Get Fund to lobby for projects. It's not like Wole Bandai or Bimbila. All of us, the 275 members of parliament, we go there. All the ministers, you go there. We're talking about the whole country. So the resources are stretched. So for all you know, he's fetched a trip of sand there, which is a good idea. Obviously, he wants to do something for the people. But unfortunately, when you go to Bimbila, it's one of the biggest constituencies in Ghana. When it comes to the land map, it's the biggest in the northern region. So for all you know, he's invested somewhere and you couldn't actually come to.
Mr. Alpha, let me come to you. So there's this situation coupled with what exists in Accra, in mainline Takoradi, wherever it is. Children in preparatory schools, public schools, private schools, who have access to the things they need to learn. In fact, a child is waking up this morning, goes to school, he has a desk, he has a books, he's seen a computer before, so he has advantage over this one. They will sit for the same exam at the end of the period. You are an educationist and a consultant. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that we have unequal opportunities in the country. But I will address that later.
Right.
I'm beginning to look at the irresponsibilities of the people in charge, including the MPs. You know, the idea is this. This Africa, where people know the conditions, but they are more interested in their own self-aggrandizement and their own alleviation of poverty than the young people there. I mean, I've seen too much of it. And frankly, it's come to a point where people really have to be responsive in the sense that as you become an MP, you need to begin to share with people what your vision is, and what it is that the expected outcomes in your tenure.
Are we not overburdening the MPs? For example, there's a local governance structure. There's a DCE, Metro
friend,
Director of Education.
The MP.
What do they do?
They should coordinate all of that. But what I'm saying is this: all along the line, various aspects of irresponsibility in terms of the people there. And then the other thing is that people take this as normal. You'll be surprised. As far as people who live in the area, possibly, in places that I've seen, I mean, they take it as normal because the point is, hey, that's how I grew up. And if these kids grew up the same way, so be it. I've seen too much of it. And I'll give you an example. I remember, maybe you don't see this. I want you to understand the cultural aspects of the provision. You have to understand that. That's the fundamentals. When Ghana became independent in 1957, I was in class 3. I was about 10 years old. The teachers went about telling the parents that this is a new day, this is freedom. So let's put shoes on our children's feet. I want you to see the culture. And these were parents who were farmers, goldsmiths, traders, and so on. You know what they told the teachers?
No.
So I'm not going to spoil my child by putting shoes on a child's feet. That's how I grew up. They need to go through the same deprivation. I'm not saying that it's the same situation now, But the undercurrent is irresponsibility of people. I mean, what I'm saying, there's no sympathy, there's no empathy, there's no passion for the children in this country. And it's really an indictment on us. I've seen too much of it. And even right here in Accra, go to some of these public schools and see the toilets there. And then you ask us, are people on the payroll? What on earth are they doing? You know, so we keep revisiting these things over and over again, but until such time that there's commitment and that people are held responsible because they're on the payroll.
They are searching for the same exam with their folks.
Okay, back to the question now.
They have not seen a computer before. They saw Stanley's laptop and they were amazed.
Now, the issue is this. Again, we want to begin to understand what decentralization is.
Right.
Some areas are more endowed than others. So now, if you look at a situation like this, the first thing you ask yourself is this: how can we raise the children in this community, taking into account the local environment and taking into account the endowment there?
Right.
You know, the need of these kids today are not, the immediate need is probably not a computer, but it is how they can add value to the resources there. So they come out of the deprivation. That's very important. The point I'm raising is this: Ghana is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of the natural endowment that we have. You'll be surprised the produce in this particular area. But then science has to be targeted to this area in terms of how we can help young people to add value to where they are. Now, remember,
but that's long term, Mr. Hafa.
But we have to start now.
The quick problem is that come May, June, maybe July, they'll be sitting for the BEC. They are obviously disadvantaged.
Under no circumstances can these kids here do an examination in ICT. It doesn't make sense.
But they do it anyway.
But it doesn't have to be that way. And then the other thing is this: we don't have to teach everybody the same thing at the same time.
WIAC has a different view. They think that it's West African examination, everybody should write the same thing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that everybody should write everything, but these people cannot write ICT. But then what I'm saying is this: let's focus on science for the particular area.
Right.
You know, WIAC is an old-fashioned institution.
Really?
WIAC is built on the premise that chew, pour, pass, and forget business.
Okay.
You know, you have to get information, you have to memorize the information, and do true or false, multiple choice, and so on. Not all learners are that way inclined.
Okay. Honorable, so Anis Afa says there's a bit of laziness on your part. And you're on the payroll. What exactly is your role? Sometimes I believe that MPs are overburdened because everybody picks their bowl and they are coming to your doorstep. Are you the cause of your own woes?
Well, we are not, but unfortunately we are victims of circumstance. So we have to carry it. Like Radley said, you go campaigning, you talk about a lot of things as a member of parliament. You're campaigning on the ticket of your party. And obviously when you are campaigning for the president as well. So sometimes you carry all these things along. So some of the things you say you want to do, obviously you think your government will be in power, some of these resources will be available for you to implement them. Like he rightly said, yes, he's not a politician. Even if he's a politician, he's currently not involved. And for that matter, I will permit him for some of the issues he said. Obviously, it's easy to point accusation fingers on politicians when it comes to self-aggrandizement and all those things.
But the issues he's raising are critical.
I agree. I don't
because you see, MPs mount the platform. They tell you we'll do A, B, C, D. When you go back asking them, they tell you they are legislators, not change.
That's what I'm saying. Unfortunately, that is our cross, and we must carry it.
Okay.
Because even professors will sit on a program like this and begin to accuse MPs when there's no development, knowing very well, like you rightly said, the MPs control just about less than 10% of what resources go to the districts. All goes to the assembly. But unfortunately, those people are not seen.
These children,
like you rightly said, obviously, it's not a good story.
Okay.
They are on their knees when it comes. You compare them to colleagues where Takrade, Kumasi, and all those. Somebody has never seen a laptop. This is the first time he's seen a laptop. And I will tell you, I don't feel ashamed saying this. My first time I saw what is the name? Regulating traffic. What is the name of this thing? Traffic lights.
Okay.
Was somewhere 2001.
Wow.
You don't believe it. That was the first time I saw traffic
Where
light.
did you see this?
I saw it when I came to Kumasi to visit my sister.
Wow.
You won't believe it. That is a story. I had completed training college by then.
And that was the first
That
time
was my first time I saw a traffic light.
Wow.
Are you getting? You see, and I don't believe that because I didn't get it right from the beginning, somebody should not get it. Well, some people think that way. I don't think that way. And I think that these children, like he said, we as Ghanaians, we've not structured our education.
What is your commitment? What commitment are you making to the people of Ghana this morning?
My commitment, like, come again if you say what commitment.
What commitment are you making in terms of you're the majority, deputy majority chief?
Yes.
First deputy.
Yes.
What commitment are you making? You speak on numerous issues in Parliament. Yes. You're an educationist yourself. Yes. What commitment are you making to the people?
I don't control resources.
No,
so
you don't control resources.
About my commitment. My commitment is to make sure that I lead the developmental agenda of this country.
So that's
and
your
the
commitment.
government. Yes, that's my commitment, to make sure that my brothers, like I'm seeing, what best can we do as a nation to also give them a facelift?
And you have the final word. What should be our commitment as a country?
The commitment is this: the MPs, the district assembly, they should be living in that community. That's the first point. I'm there in Accra doing what? You know, the issue is this: when you are committed, you are at the scene where the need is. But what happens is that typically people get these positions, and the first thing they do is a scrum, and they come to a place like Accra. So what I'm saying is this: we need to be where the action is. Look, if you cannot be where the action is and be with the people that you are speaking from, then why should anybody take you seriously? That is the issue now.
That is the issue.
And because we are a bunch of people.
But you are elected and you are supposed to be working in Accra. How are you going to live?
But now you should be working there. Then you should make sure
yes.
that... How much time do you spend in Accra?
Because almost from Tuesday to Friday, you are supposed to be in Parliament.
Then that's a problem right there.
So how do you expect the person to go and live with the people?
I expect you to be there.
Thank you very much. This conversation is made possible by Star Ghana as part of our Missions Ghana initiative, and also with funding from the European Union, DFID, UK Aid. We're grateful to all our partners for making it possible. Matthew Nyenam is a member of Parliament for the Pandai constituency, the first deputy and majority whip. And Anissa Fai is a consultant and education gentleman. I thank you very much for your time. We're grateful.